You have low entity, low vibrational human beings that is walking this planet, ladies and gentlemen, and glorifying Charlie Kirk passing. Now, you may not agree with Charlie's political views. You have every right to disagree with the next man. But to be happy that someone got executed on national television is some crazy work. Hold on, let me clean my screen real quick. No so Dominicana better ya to but we're about to cook on this video. Now, my condolences to Charlie Kirk and his family. He left a wife behind, he left his kids behind, and at the end of the day, he was not a criminal. He kept it 10 toes down on his message. And because he had a certain view, a certain outlook on life, doesn't condone, doesn't justify his death. Meanwhile, modern day, 11 days past his crucifix, he got eliminated, he got executed on national TV, ladies and gentlemen. And you have pastors, and I played that video in my most recent live. Go ahead and check that out. I'm not going to play that video again. But multiple pastors, multiple, not just one, are misleading the congregation, abusing the Bible, manipulating the Bible, taking the word of God out of context, and misconstruing, leading the people out, taking them out of the cliff, blindfold, telling people if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Telling people just the way your death doesn't condone the way that you live. Now, once again, I could care less about politics. It's not a politics channel. I didn't know Charlie, I didn't even know he existed until he was removed from this world. It's crazy how that works. And I see content creators making multiple videos saying that this is a movie. They're canceling their Netflix, their Hulu, grabbing their popcorn, circling around these couches because they think another man's passing away, another man's death is entertainment. When have we become so low as a human race that we are glorifying death? That is some crazy work, ladies and gentlemen. You don't have to agree with the next man's opinion, his insight on life, but he has the opportunity, he has a chance to live and see another day. But let's keep it a being, ladies and gentlemen. Charlie was going against the elites. He was going against the JEW. I can't even say it because I may get canceled at the end of the day. Fear should not cripple you, but you cannot be ignorant to the situation at hand. Charlie was going against the elites. He also was telling a lot of people to be responsible and holding people accountable for their actions because people don't want to be accountable at the end of the day. They want to do whatever with their bodies and they have that right, but they don't have that right if you're an adolescent. See, what you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, is that the school system was trying to remove the Bible from the church. They already did that. They removed the Bible from the church because it was causing too much conflict. And once they removed the Bible from the church, everything went to the shedder. Excuse my French. So they removed the word of God from the church. Second, ladies and gentlemen, modern day, they're trying to separate, they removed the Bible from the church. Now they're trying to separate parents with kids. What I mean by that is that a kid can go to school, tell the teacher that he wants a sex change, and the school can keep that information confidential away from the parents. How in the world, and what world, at the age of what, elementary, these fifth graders, they don't know left and right, ladies and gentlemen. They're still learning their ABCs, and now that is just a figure of speech. I hope you don't know your ABCs at the fifth grade. You should know at kindergarten, but I digress. What is a fifth grader going to know about sex change? But they're giving all the power to these kids. And look at the modern day generation. Kids are turning to girls. Boys are going to the girls' restroom. And Charlie was against that. That's not right. Now, when you're a grown up, you could do whatever you want. I'm not against the LGBT community. Don't cancel me, y'all. Do whatever the hell you want to please. Do whatever the hell you want to do. At the end of the day, you're a grown ass person. But an adolescent cannot decide that. And if you agree with that message, that is some crazy ass work. And that's why the country it is. That's why the country is at where it's currently at, ladies and gentlemen. It's at a complete confusion and turmoil is at an all-time high because once again they removed the Bible from the church, and now they're trying to separate parents with the school system as if kids have a prefrontal cortex that is developed. Ladies and gentlemen, the prefrontal cortex, which is the front of your brain, doesn't develop to the age of 25 for a young man. For a woman, it doesn't develop to the age of 21. What is an adolescent going to, how does he have, she or he, how do they have the right to change their sex in elementary? That's some crazy work. So there is a misconception that Charlie was a racist. In my previous video, I debunked that already. Charlie wasn't a racist, ladies and gentlemen. He was saying, and before I go into the breakdown, we have to stop judging a man off 20-second clips, 30-second clips, 2-minute clips. We have to break down these videos and really watch the entire length of these videos, not a little 30, 20-second clip, and that's going to be the judgment of an entire identity of Charlie Kirk. That's some crazy work. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta take my dog out to walk, so I can't be too long. Do me a favor and like this video. Double tap the screen to like this video. I appreciate every single one of y'all in the building. Now I'm going to go to the memorial service of Charlie Kirk, but I have to touch on this subject because this is some crazy work, ladies and gentlemen. In modern day, we have people happy that Charlie Kirk is gone. They're canceling their Netflix because they're saying that the news is the new Netflix. I repeat, they are happy that a man has been crucified, has been executed on national television, that they are grabbing their popcorn, circling around their TVs in their living rooms, and happy in the distress of the next man's downfall. How low can you go? I expect that from these low vibrational snakes that's crawling, destroying the planet as us. Because at the end of the day, a snake doesn't blink. A snake is going to be a snake. But pastors, multiple pastors, ladies and gentlemen, are glorifying Charlie Kirk's death, saying that he doesn't, they don't have sympathy for Charlie because they didn't have sympathy for the ancestors because the ancestors was passed away by the white man. So why should we care for Charlie Kirk because they took one of ours? So why should we care that they took one of theirs? What? This is a race war. They're trying to create division, separation, and we should be united more than ever. In a turmoil such as this happened just 11 days ago. So many videos are circling the internet, ladies and gentlemen, of pure hate. When a man passed away, now, you don't have to agree with Charlie Kirk's take. You have that right. But to glorify a man passing on TV, when's the last time that we've seen a man eliminated on national TV such as this event? Top of the dome, I can only remember Martin Luther King, and I wasn't alive to see that. So regardless of what his political views were, he still had a family. He was doing nothing illegal. And matter of fact, just to break it down even more, he gave the opposition, he gave whoever he was debating an opportunity to speak. Because some moderators, some content creators, some people that have a platform, they want to control the narrative. They don't give the opposing party an opportunity to speak their piece and say what they want to say. He went to multiple college universities, and his mission was to spread light in a world full of darkness. We have to stop the cap, ladies and gentlemen. This is crazy work. People think Charlie Kirk, they're comparing him to Adolf Hitler. Hitler? So you're comparing a guy that completely wiped out a whole race of people. Charlie is not a murderer. Hitler deleted multiple people on his planet. That is very disrespectful. And we can expect this from low vibrational people. But for pastors, ladies and gentlemen, pastors, if y'all want to see the pastors, please watch my previous video. It's some crazy work. You're supposed to be a man of God. You're supposed to dissect the Bible and spread light. But we got low entities, these demons on this earth causing confusion. When has it been okay to glorify the next man's death on national television? And they want to justify it saying, well, they didn't care about George Floyd. The police didn't care about George Floyd. They didn't care about Trayvon Martin. So two wrongs make a right? So because you see a certain situation and you interpret that in your mind, you trying to put your insecurities out into the world and tell the next man to not feel some type of way. At the end of the day, we can't judge by skin color. Now, you can profile. Profiling can save your life. We got to stop the cap. Profiling can save your life. You can't just be sitting in front of just anybody. If somebody's tweaking behind you on a train, on a bus, and you give that person the benefit of the doubt, you have to use your spirit of discernment and use your best judgment. But in that same statement, the skin color does not determine who you are. It is the fruits that determine who you are. It is the characteristics that determine who you are. It's what you do into this world that determines who you are. Not the skin color, because let's keep it a being. Not all skin folk is kinfolk. Just because we share the same skin color doesn't mean that you're my brother. Stop the cap. It be your own, ladies and gentlemen, that will really do you in. Look at Young Thug snitch ass. It'll be your own people that will turn your ass in, that will really do you dirty. But I have to be very careful with my choice of words because it's a very controversial topic. We have our people trying to say, nah, we can't feel for the other race because he's one of them. These races are being exposed, ladies and gentlemen. Charlie Kirk's passing, my condolences go to his family and his kids, his wife. She is now the head of the ship, when really it should be the man the head of the ship, but now she has to put on her big boy shoes and be a wolf out here and do the dirty work. But it's not by choice. Unfortunately, her king, which is Charlie, passed away on national TV, and people have no empathy, such as Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel was making jokes on national television, playing sound bites in the background, and then you have people saying they took his First Amendment right. What? So let me get this straight. Jimmy Kimmel was working for the man. That wasn't his show. He was working for ABC. He was working for Disney. I can't just go into my place of establishment, my 9 to 5, and just speak my political views and don't think there's any consequences. They have their own rules and guidelines and policies. If I don't listen to those policies and follow those rules, ladies and gentlemen, then that is my ass. That is my behind. My ass is grass, ladies and gentlemen. There's rules for working for the next man. Even on YouTube, this is not my platform. Any other content creator, that is not, YouTube is not your, you don't own YouTube. If YouTube wants to delete your channel, they can do that in the discretion of their power. One day you can wake up and your channel is gone. So Jimmy Kimmel goes on his platform and makes a mockery of the next man passing, such as Charlie Kirk being assassinated on national television. Then Donald Trump, once again, you may not like these people or their takes, but we have to have sympathy for the next man leaving his kids behind. He's not a criminal. What did he do to make himself, his image so bad? Okay, he had a lot of controversial takes, and his controversial takes is being out of context because little 20, 30-second clips are being misconstrued. Because right now, ladies and gentlemen, somebody can screen record me and use my voice out of context. So don't just believe these little 20, 30, 2-minute clips that's circulating around the web. Watch the entire length of these videos if you really want to judge a man. Do your own homework. You can't just believe everything that I say. Don't believe anything anybody says. Take it with a grain of salt and do your own homework, research, and decipher for your own free will what is right and what is wrong. You have that right, but people are just so what? Lazy that can't think for themselves. They rather believe the next man. The next man says this person's bad, so he must be bad. If that was the court of law, if that was in the judicial system, which it is, but if that really was, then a lot of people would be locked up because somebody said that he's a criminal, so that person deserves to be arrested. Stop the cap, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I expect this type of behavior from a low adolescent kid because his brain isn't developed. But we have grown ass adults acting like babies. We got grown babies. They never became adults. They're grown babies. The only thing the difference of them and kids is that they have bills to pay. But these are babies out here. You don't have to agree with Charlie Kirk. I never seen a single debate prior to him passing away on national television. I didn't even know he existed. He had millions of millions of millions of views on YouTube. And yet I've never seen a single take, a single debate, a single argument. I was minding my own business, ladies and gentlemen. I got my own stuff to worry about. I got to go to my 9 to 5. I got to make sure my bills is paid. But I have enough sympathy and empathy to see somebody pass on national television, and even if he was a criminal, ladies and gentlemen, that's not a way to go out, because criminals still have a right to fair trial. They still have to go to their see their day in court. You may want that person to be executed, but they still have to go in front of the judge and speak their piece. But you have multiple people saying that he deserved to be executed because of his take, because of his opinion, because of his insight. Not everybody's going to agree with you. Not everybody's going to have the same mind as you. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. That's not what I'm trying to talk about. That's not why I'm documenting this video. That's the confusion that's around the world and the universe. People are just so confused. What is there to be confused about? I know what it is, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of racists that's being exposed. A lot of racist true colors are coming out to light. And what's done to darkness will come to light, believe it or not. Eventually, it will come to light. And Charlie Kirk, his unfortunate passing, has exposed a lot of racists. Because how are you glorifying the next man? Ladies and gentlemen, let's break this down before we go to the memorial. We're about 16 minutes in. I want to thank every single one of y'all in the building. Do me a favor and double tap the screen so you can like the live. You are watching Charlie Kirk in the middle of a debate, and that's crazy because he passed away doing what he loved to do. People see him passing away and they are saying, oh, the last words was gang violence. He was talking about gang violence, so he deserved to die. And they're laughing about it. Oh, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Pastors was saying this, ladies and gentlemen. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. Meaning, because Charlie was preaching, saying what he was saying, in the middle of his debate, he passed away. Like pastors in the church of God, leading their congregation to confusion when pastors are supposed to break down the Bible to where a baby can understand. You have pastors in Texas causing confusion, leading people astray. What about the person that doesn't know the background of the Bible? I'm not trying to make this religious, but somebody that attends these people churches are now going to leave that church and cause plague and confusion to the world. That's some crazy ass work, ladies and gentlemen. We used to live in some crazy ass times. So, before I go into this memorial service, I want to give my deepest condolences to Charlie and his family. Once again, this is not about politics. This is about a human life, an entity, a man that was just recently born. He wasn't even old. He was in his early 30s. He was in his prime, ladies and gentlemen. He was starting to turn the wheel. He was cooking. And what I realized is that when you talk too much and you speak the truth, they're going to shut you up. Don't let fear cripple you, ladies and gentlemen. Keep on speaking your message. Keep on fighting the fight. Because what Charlie was saying, he didn't want boys to go to the women's restroom. He didn't want colored folks, black people, to live in Section 8 housing. But don't take my word for it. Let's go to the documentation real quick, and then I'm going to go to the memorial. Do me a favor, ladies and gentlemen. Double tap the screen, double tap the screen. Hold on, we are in the wrong screenshot. Hold on, all right. All right, in the building. Let me shout out y'all boys real quick and women. Shout out to Raj. Shout out to Jose. Chicago West. Shout out to Steve. Shout out to No Clear Booms. Shout out to DNS98.4. Shout out to Run It Up 478. Shout out to Renter. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Now let's get to the content. Oh man, it's crazy how people are just so confused and they grown as adults. That's some crazy ass work. So I'm not gonna go through the whole list. I'm just gonna go through a couple. So the first one is that Kirk said black people were better off as slaves. That is a misconception and that is a lie. In a 2020 reparation debate, Kirk called slavery evil, but argued 1960s welfare expansions devastated black family structures more than historical oppression, citing CDC data on a single-parent household rising from 25% to 70%. Now, ladies and gentlemen, people are abusing Section 8 housing. They purposely do not want to work so they can pay zero rent, because that's how it works. If you don't have any income, then you don't have to pay rent. But guess who's paying for these rent? Your tax dollars, ladies and gentlemen. Your tax dollars is paying for these people to sit on their ass and not get a 9 to 5. And this is generation after generation that's being cursed on these families because instead of changing your situation, they want to stay in this free rent housing. And I made plenty of videos of this guy named Dishrack Dante. Yes, this Dishrack Dante, man, was abusing Section 8 housing to where he would get a job for 2 to 3 weeks. Right before 4 weeks, he would quit and he would claim zero income. That is a rat race. That is a loophole, ladies and gentlemen. You are not going to get out of that situation if you don't have income. But yet, housing is being provided. Now, if that's all you got, if that's all that you can do, by all means, you have to survive at the end of the day. I'm talking about the individuals that are abusing the system, not trying to change their situation, because eventually you do have to get a 9 to 5. Eventually, you do have to get on your feet. You can't stay in the same place forever. So, what Kirk was saying in claim number one, that the Section 8 housing is a curse in the black community because it makes people complacent, lazy, and not want to go out and change their situation. Because life is hard, you know. Sometimes you do need help. And sometimes people don't have a family member to rely on for that help. So the government comes in that safety net. But I'd rather work for mine than ask for a handout. I'm going to skip to number 4. Kirk supported genocide in Gaza. That's cap. Kirk defended Israel anti-Hamas operations as self-defense, denying genocide claims, while urging aid and hostage releases. He hosted pro-peace Muslim voices on his show. Critics conflate criticism of terrorism. Hold on, I want to go to claim number 2, saying that he was racist. How is he racist, but he gave praise to Candace Owens? Now, if you don't know who Candace Owens is, that was his partner. Now, she's married to a white man, but that doesn't mean that she isn't black. She's still black. Don't take away her black card because she's married to a white man. Let's go down to claim number 5 about trans and the Fruity Pebble community. I got to be very careful with this take here. That was an outright lie. No such quote exists. Kirk opposed gender transitions for minors and same-sex marriage on religious grounds. So you can't go in a church talking about let's get married and you're the same sex. That is complete blasphemous. But advocated tolerance and debate. Ladies and gentlemen, do your own homework and research. Don't just believe the lies. People saying that Charlie Kirk was a racist. Well, how is he a racist when he's telling the black community to stop living in Section 8 housing? Not everybody lives in Section 8 housing. If the shoe doesn't fit, it doesn't apply to you. He's referring to the people that is abusing the system. People such as Dishrack Dante, and do me a favor, subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch these clips that I made on my YouTube channel. Dishrack Dante was living in Section 8 housing for 5 to 10 years, ladies and gentlemen, while receiving a YouTube AdSense check. So he was receiving income but claiming $0, living for free. And this is exactly what Charlie was talking about. People are abusing the system. It is a rat race. That is a generational curse that these people are doing. If the shoe doesn't fit, it doesn't apply to you. But people get offended. Oh, Charlie must be racist. Not all black people live in Section 8 housing. Stop the cap, ladies and gentlemen. People are just so quick to respond instead of reading, instead of watching the whole duration of these videos. If you still think the man is racist after you watch a whole video, by all means, you have that right to think what you want to think. But to watch 20 seconds, 30 seconds of these clips and to think that he's racist is some crazy work, then he's against Fruity Pebble community, the rainbow community, because we got to keep it YouTube friendly. He's against kids turning that leaf as an adolescent. What is wrong about that, ladies and gentlemen? Because people want to people believe they want to do what they want to do and they don't want to be held accountable. Charlie's like, whoa, there's consequences to your actions. What makes this man so evil that people, certain individuals, such as the woman in Texas Tech University, you had this woman said, F your homie's dead, he got shot in the head. She was jumping around campus, ladies and gentlemen, talking about your homie's dead, he got shot in the head. Can you believe that? No shame, no morals, just pure ignorance. And she got expelled. Then you have another individual that went to Texas State. He was spitting on the floor while people was mourning for Charlie in the middle of a grieving meeting, because people have the right to plan and make events and mourn for Charlie, because for goodness sake, he got executed on national television. People are trying to tell you it's not a big deal. Sweep it underneath the rug and move on. Move on. There's a time and place for everything. There's a time to work. There's a time to play. There's a time to mourn. It just happened 11 days ago. So these universities are going to throw events to pay tribute for Charlie. If you don't F with Charlie, go about your business. Move around. People are not forcing you to support Charlie Kirk. The issue is that people want to get their voice heard so bad that they see people supporting Charlie and they're intervening and they're interrupting and they're spreading their hate and their negativity on them. It's so crazy, ladies and gentlemen, that pastors in church in Texas, multiple pastors, are also saying that they didn't care about our ancestors, so why should we care about Charlie? When God says to love your enemies, God says to turn the other cheek, God says to treat your brother as if you are him. God says to be a reflection of him. Easier said than done because we're human, but we should try our best to be like the Most High, not trying to make this religious. But pastors are saying they killed our they removed, these words are very sensitive on YouTube. They deleted our ancestors, so why should we care about Charlie? Stop the cap, man. When have we become so low as a human race that we can't have sympathy for the man being executed on national television? And I'm going to keep on making these videos because apparently we have content creators happy that Charlie got executed on national television. Why are these content creators happy? Because he's white? It can be because of his message, because if you really dissect his message, not a 20-second clip, not a 30-second clip, not a 2-minute clip. And that's what these people are watching. They're watching these videos on YouTube, and they have a perception that Charlie is a racist. When he gave credit to Candace Owens, when he gave the black community advice to get out of Section 8 housing because it is a generational curse to stay in Section 8 housing, because you are claiming that you're not receiving income, but yet you're not changing your situation. Crazy ass work. Now, you can disagree, once again. You can disagree with his take. Maybe you want to stay in Section 8 housing. Maybe your ass doesn't want to work. You have that right. I don't agree with it, but you have that right to, if your mindset, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to live in Section 8 housing, you don't want to work for the man, you want to pay $0 rent, you have that human right. It's wrong in my opinion, because somebody got to pay for your rent, which is the tax dollars is paying for people in Section 8 housing. It's okay to go through a little rut, but to abuse a system to where you're not changing your situation, some crazy ass work. But I digress. That's for another video. Charlie was saying, if you want to change your situation, get your ass up and get a 9-to-5. People are like, nah, who are you to tell me what to do? People are getting exposed, ladies and gentlemen, for being racist. And they are happy that a man got crucified on national television. I never knew so many racists existed. Black folks are racist, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of them are racist. They're exposing their hand and they're getting fired from their 9-to-5s. They're so bold. That is one thing to be racist behind closed doors. They're making videos glorifying Charlie Kirk's death. And these videos are being sent to their employers and they're losing their 9-to-5s. They have the courage to backdoor crying on video saying, "Oh my God, I lost my job. Oh my God." What are you surprised about? This is humorous. You just glorified a man passing. He got executed, and you show no remorse. People like Jimmy Kimmel show no remorse. That is not a time to be a stand-up comedian. And people are saying, what? He had his First Amendment right. Yeah, he does have a First Amendment right in public. You think Jimmy Kimmel, if he would have said that, he probably would have to answer some questions to ABC, but he was on their platform. He was working for the man. That's not his show. That's ABC's show. That's Disney's show. That's not his show. It may say Jimmy Kimmel Live, but that's not his show. And to be blessed enough to be working for 20 years, because Jimmy Kimmel has been on TV for a very long time, he had a lot of controversial takes. People saying, oh, why does he get canceled because of this when he said a lot about that? Because the man got executed, ladies and gentlemen, on national TV. We haven't seen such horrific acts since Martin Luther King, and I wasn't alive to watch that live. I have to watch replays and read the books. We haven't seen a man executed on national TV. That was some crazy ass work. And you got Jimmy Kimmel using his platform to make sound bites of laughing while Donald Trump is talking. Once again, you may not agree with Donald Trump, but show some type of compassion, empathy, sympathy. A moment of silence for a man he left his kids and his family, his friends behind, all from using his mouthpiece. That's all he was doing was talking. Talking gets you executed on national television, and Jimmy Kimmel wants to use his platform. It's just crazy work because how is a grown ass man see what's going on in the world, put on a suit, put on a tie, and making jokes on the next man passing, on the next man being executed on national television? That's some nasty ass work, ladies and gentlemen. And then he got canceled, right? Well, people are upset because they're saying that they removed Jimmy Kimmel's First Amendment right. Let me break that down before I go to the memorial service. First Amendment right is freedom of speech, right? We all know you can't say what you really want to say in your place of work in your 9 to 5. You will be canceled. That's why people are losing their 9 to 5s in real life because they're putting their hate speech on Facebook, paragraph after paragraph talking about, oh, I'm not going to feel sorry for Charlie because then no one felt sorry for George Floyd. No one felt sorry for Trayvon Martin. What? These same people are losing their jobs. Then these same people want to act surprised. Crazy ass work. What is so complicated? Oh man, I want to appreciate every single one of y'all in the building. Let me scroll down. Shout out to Mr. Hudson. Shout out to Springs. Shout out to Winter, Kara, Doke Tour, Diaper. These some crazy names, but I appreciate every single one of y'all in the building. Let's go to the memorial service, ladies and gentlemen. This is some crazy work. I have the link in the description of this video if you want to watch it on your own. I'm going to skip to the very end because Donald Trump, he gave his speech last, and then I'm going to play his wife.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Lee. You've been there from the beginning with us, Lee, and we appreciate it. Nobody can sing that song like Lee Greenwood. Thank you very much, Lee, very much for being here. And his voice has not changed, you know? Pretty amazing. And a special thank you to Erika, because today, America is a nation in grief, a nation in shock, and a nation in mourning. Less than 2 weeks ago, our country was robbed of one of the brightest lights of our times, a giant of his generation, and above all, a devoted husband, father, son, Christian and patriot. Charles James Kirk was heinously murdered by a radicalized, cold-blooded monster for speaking the truth that was in his heart. He was violently killed because he spoke for freedom and justice, for God and country, for reason and for common sense. He was assassinated.
Hold on, hold on. I'm going to give the summary of what Donald Trump should really say. Now, he's giving his condolences, but let's keep it a being, ladies and gentlemen. Ironically, when the Epstein files was supposed to be released, it was voted not to be released. Yes, they voted no to the Epstein files not being released. So this was all a distraction. They're so animate. They do not want those Epstein files to be out in the public. They're willing to delete Charlie Kirk from this planet. That is some crazy ass work. That does not condone Charlie from leaving, but as we know, we are living in a corrupt world. Let's keep it a beam.
Because he lived bravely, he led boldly, and he argued brilliantly without apology. He did what was right for our nation. And so on that terrible day, September 10th,
Kyra, so Congress voted no to the Epstein files not to be released. They voted no.
25, our greatest evangelist for American liberty became immortal. He's a martyr now for American freedom. I know I speak for everyone here today when I say that none of us will ever forget Charlie Kirk, and neither now will history. Because while Charlie has been reunited with his creator in heaven, his voice on earth will echo through the generations, and his name...
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to give my insight on this video because I can't just play the clip without having my own take because YouTube will flag me. So I wanted to say on top of the dome, Jimmy Kimmel, is that enough remorse for you? Because Jimmy Kimmel went on live, ladies and gentlemen, and he was talking about Donald Trump didn't show enough sympathy towards his right-hand man, his activist Charlie Kirk. Is this enough remorse for you? See, what you have to understand and why Jimmy Kimmel got canceled is that he was making fun of the dead and he was trying to make jokes, playing laughing sound bites in the background. Then he wants to backdoor and attack Jimmy Kimmel and say, excuse me, he wants to attack Donald Trump. And he wants to say he was in the fourth stage. Wow. Excuse me, it's getting late. He was in the fourth stage of remorse, talking about construction. So he was making jokes. How you making jokes on the next man's demise? Now, we understand people are evil. Are we really surprised? But Jimmy Kimmel, you should know better, especially a man that has a platform such as yours. You are blessed enough to break generations or generational curses. So many generations, Jimmy Kimmel don't have to work because of what he is doing in modern day. Now, he's good. At the end of the day, he doesn't need ABC. He can build his own platform on YouTube and speak his mind, do what he wants to do. But in the same statement, in that same take, he was working for 20 years. He was against Trump for a long time since he's been in office. You was already on thin ice. Why would you put two and two together and make fun of Charlie Kirk and backdoor and make fun of Donald Trump, and then you get canceled? Then on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, he said that he is unapologetic. He's not going to apologize. They gave him an opportunity to come back because if you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, Disney is losing billions of dollars because people believe that Jimmy Kimmel, and they have that right. They have that right to believe whatever they want to believe, but people are saying that Jimmy Kimmel's First Amendment right was removed because he spoke his mind on his own show and he got canceled. That is a misconception. See, you can't go to a 9 to 5. See, a 9 to 5 is not the same as real life. That's why people get fired, because people think it's sweet. You can't just go to a 9 to 5 and show your ass as if you did behind closed doors in your home. You have to put on that. I mean, you can't completely change. You still have to stay true to you are. But let's keep it a being. You can't completely act how you want to at your place of job. And if you do, hey, it is what it is. But for the most part, you cannot act crazy. You can't just say certain things at a 9 to 5. That's some crazy ass work, Jimmy Kimmel. Especially in a topic like this, as sensitive as this, people's lives was at stake. Literally, like Charlie passed away, but other people' life was at stake as well, and they're blessed that they wasn't in the way in the crossfires. They were saying that Jimmy body stopped the bullet because 9 times out of 10 that bullet should have went through his body and hurt somebody else that was back there. So through his death was a blessing because nobody else got hurt. This is a traumatizing experience. What about that person that is very sensitive? Because you can't compare you to the next person. They're going to perceive and intake those people that attended that rally that Charlie Kirk passed away. That person is traumatized for the rest of their life. Nobody deserves to hear a gunshot, having their life in jeopardy just by attending a rally. Imagine leaving your front doors attending a Charlie Kirk rally. I mean, of course, that's in your back of your mind, but you never expect that from really happening. And people don't show remorse, but what if that was you in that situation? And you have to duck down, you can't even run because there's so many people, there's nowhere to run to. You have to pray that it's not a mass. I can't say that word on YouTube, but you have to pray that it's not some weirdo doing the most. There's only one shot, but you don't know in the middle of the midst of the chaos. Ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor and like the screen by double tapping the phone, ladies and gentlemen. Also, let me know your take on the situation. Before I go back to Donald Trump, I want to give y'all a big shout out. Shout out to every single one of y'all in the building. This channel will be nothing without you. I just started my YouTube channel, and I really appreciate every single last person in the building. I'm just in misbelief that people are showing no empathy, no sympathy for a man, regardless of his political views, got executed on national television. Once again, these demons and these racists are getting exposed. And it really, really is disappointing to see black racists. Black racists? That sounds crazy. But not all skin folk is kinfolk. Just because you share the same skin color as me doesn't mean that you're my brother. Am I my brother's keeper? Shout out to New Jack City. That's where that line is from. Am I my brother's keeper? Because obviously these black racists aren't. They're happy to see Charlie Kirk executed on national television. They're happy to see white folks sad because you know their logic, ladies and gentlemen, these black racists, they're saying that their ancestors got deleted by the white man. Nobody cried for them. Nobody held their hand. So why should we hold your hand? Can you believe that? When Jesus says, not to make this religious, to love your enemy and to forgive, because if you can't forgive, then how is the Most High supposed to forgive you? Because who that is without sin cast the first stone. Nobody's perfect. We all got sins. We all did sin. We're going to do sin. Nobody's perfect. I'm not trying to come on the camera and say that I'm holier than thou. But if we want to be a reflection of the Most High, we have to forgive and love our brother. How are we supposed to change the world when change comes from within? We have to spread light and positivity to the world if we want to receive positivity back. It's not just going on YouTube and Twitter, Facebook, typing. No, you have to go into the world and spread positivity. So these black racists are capitalizing and they're monetizing their hate over Charlie Kirk. They're happy, ladies and gentlemen. That's sick. That is demonic. That is low vibrational. And anybody happy on the next man being executed on national television, run away from those people. It's so bad that I can't even tag these people on my YouTube channel because I don't even want their type of energy on my channel. I can only address it. I won't mention their names. But content creators are happy. Black racists are happy. You're exposing yourself. If the right person finds that video and you want to go to a 9 to 5, you will not get hired. You are messing your future up by spreading your hate. Your insecurities are coming out into the world because you think, oh, they didn't care about my ancestors, so why should I care about Charlie Kirk? Look at that childish as immature mindset. And you know what's scary about this, ladies and gentlemen, is that these same content creators, these people are going to make kids, and they're going to spread this hate to their kids. And these kids, unfortunately, are going to grow up racist. These people, these pastors in Texas, are preaching to their congregation, spreading hate, demonic ass messages. Not dissecting the Bible. What a pastor's supposed to do, go to the resource, go to the source, break down the Bible to where a baby can understand. The person leaves the church, becomes a better person than how they came in, and week after week is like refilling your car for fuel. Instead of refilling your car with positivity, they're putting trash into the gas tank. How far is that person going to go with trash in the gas tank? These pastors are leading people astray. The Most High represents positivity. Once again, I'm not trying to make this religious, just calling it a spade a spade. The Most High forgives. You know how many sins I committed, ladies and gentlemen? I'm not going to list them all. I committed so many sins, sin after sin after sin, and it's by the grace of the Most High that He still loves me. So if the Most High can forgive me, how can we not forgive our enemies? And we're supposed to go into heaven. I know it's easier said than done, but we're supposed to forgive, ladies and gentlemen. But we have these black racists saying, nah, they deleted our ancestors, so we are not going to love. We're not going to show sympathy for Charlie Kirk. And then these same people are recording these videos, getting fired from their 9 to 5. That's some crazy work. Let's go back into the content. Do me a favor, double tap the screen to like the live. Double tap the screen to like the live. Let me know your take on the situation. Shout out to Kara once again, Ali Cat, Chihuahua in the building. Shout out to Wolf Year. Sorry. Shout out to Demetrius. Shout out to New York. Shout out to every single one of y'all in the building. Let's go back to Donald Trump's take.
Will live forever in the eternal chronicle of America's greatest patriots. He will live forever.
Demetrius, I've seen multiple content creators saying what I said. People are glorifying Charlie Kirk's death because they're saying they should have no sympathy for Charlie Kirk because nobody has sympathy for black people's ancestors. Nobody has sympathy for George Floyd. Nobody has sympathy for Trayvon Martin. They're saying the white man didn't have sympathy. And matter of fact, they're grabbing their popcorn and they're glorifying Charlie Kirk because they think this is amusement. They think this is a movie. They're so sick. They think this unfortunate situation is a movie. So you talking about nobody saying that? No, there's plenty of black racists that are content creators talking about the ancestors did it. That is demonic, man. Crazy work.
To Charlie's incredible and beautiful widow, Erika, we know the weight of this monumental loss is almost unbearable. But even in the midst of heartache and pain.
Hold on. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. You know what's crazy? Like, once again, not trying to make this political. I could care less about politics. It's not about left and right. It's about a human life that was deleted from this world. How do people have the courage to make a video talking about the ancestors did it? Excuse me. Then they want to manipulate the Bible, saying that if you live by the sword, you'll die by the sword. And Demetrius, since you said that nobody is saying that, I'm going to play a clip. This was a memorial for Charlie Kirk. But since y'all think I'm lying, y'all have, you know what? We have to show receipts because that's what makes documentation facts. You can't just be talking just to talk, because that's what these people are doing out here. They just talking just to talk. We got to show receipts. So give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Give me 1 second. Because people think that I'm just making these accusations, lying on these pastors. First of all, if you're going to go for a man of God, you better come correct. You can't be playing of God, so I have to be very careful if I'm attacking a pastor. And these pastors are capping, man. Oh, so we got 4 videos. Wow. Demetrius, I hope you're still in the building. I hope you're in the building. Oh, man, you about to be enlightened by these black racist pastors. Because we expect it from these low entity human demons. I can't even call them human beings, these human demons, because not everybody is in the best interest of you. Because not everybody is your brother. So the hate is expected. But the pastor, a man of God, that is crazy work. Ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor and double tap the screen to like the live. We're about to expose these pastors real quick. Real quick. This is exhibit 1, ladies and gentlemen. So this pastor here used his platform to abuse his power to confuse his congregation.
Together, because the sad thing is we live in a nation where twisted, toxic theology is poisoning the politics of this nation. Have you thought about the fact that this week in Utah, a white Christian got killed by a white Christian? And in the next day, HBCUs were under threat. Now, how did we get in it?
What do you mean, how did we get in it? A man got executed on national television. And he wants to say, how did we get in it? What? You see the lack of sympathy and empathy? Now, once again, I expect people to not have compassion that is of the world, because the world is scum. But to be a man of God, talking about how did we get in it, when the Bible says to love thy brother as yourself, right, Pastor? But let's go back into the clip. And these are multiple pastors, not just one. Multiple pastors are preaching hate, ladies and gentlemen. That's some crazy work.
Oh, that's called white on white crime. You came the wrong Sunday if you thought you... I'm sorry, I see y'all. Y'all are real sophisticated and you look really good. I hope they warned you about me, okay? Because on this Sunday, we gonna keep it 100. On this Sunday, we gonna tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And so here they are. Here they are. In Utah. It's more of us in church than in Utah. We ain't got nothing to do with what they just did. A white Christian gets killed, murdered, not assassinated. We're going to tell the whole truth today. Martin King got assassinated. Malcolm X got assassinated. Medgar X got assassinated. Don't compare Kirk to King.
Ladies and gentlemen, he thinks he's cooking. That's some crazy ass work. Hold on, let me flip the camera. He thinks he's cooking. So this pastor is mentioning these unfortunate situations. You know, people unfortunately did pass away in America by the hand of the law enforcement. You know, there's a lot of unfortunate situations that happen in American history. But for him to bring up the past to Charlie Kirk is manipulation. Yes. And he's abusing his power. And he's trying to minimize what happened to Charlie Kirk, because they killed they did the most. We have to be very careful with that K word. They eliminated our skin folk, so we shouldn't care about them. And he's supposed to be a pastor. When the Most High says, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Stan is tripping. The Most High says to forgive. The Most High says to turn the other cheek. The Most High says to be a representation of Him, to be peace. Now, God, let's not get it twisted. God is a wrathful God, but God does not say to fight your battles. God says He will fight your battles for you, to cast your stress and your burdens into Him, and He will hold it on His shoulders. Because if you worry about revenge, you are going to skip out on your blessing. Because God represents nothing but peace. Let Him fight your battles. It's not up to the pastor to talk about these other passings in America and related to Charlie Kirk, saying that Martin Luther King is not the same as Charlie Kirk. Now, is Charlie Kirk a criminal? Does he have a criminal record? Because that what he is saying, that is what he's trying to portray. And we have to be very careful going to these churches, and these type of pastors make it bad for the good pastors, because white folks, imagine a white individual, a Caucasian person going to these type of churches. Do you think they're going to go to that church again? You are leading people off a cliff, pastor. God is nothing but love. God will fight your battles. You don't have to say a word. He will fight your battles. I repeat, you don't have to seek out revenge, because if you try to seek out revenge, you will skip out on your blessing. God is nothing but peace and love. If you really want to break it down, pastor, you should know this because you went to a university and studied the word. When Jesus, because the letter J was letter created, but that's for another discussion. His name is Yahweh. But let's stick to Jesus. When Jesus was dying on the cross, He carried all the sin of the world, to where God was so pure, He couldn't even look at His own son. So when I heard Jesus say, and I read Jesus say, God, why do you forsake me? I was confused, because why would God forsake His own son? But Jesus made that statement. You know why Jesus made that statement, ladies and gentlemen? Because God cannot look at sin. No sin is higher than the other. In God's eyes, all sin is equal. God is pure. So to go back to this pastor, when you're talking about all these other unfortunate situations, all these other deletions that happen in American history, you're saying that two wrongs make a right? You're tallying, hold on. So you're tallying, you're going by one by one by one. When God says to forgive, God says to move on, God says to be like me, God says to love, God says to be like peace. And you're abusing your power on the podium, pastor, talking about, oh, but they did this and they did that. No, that is not godlike. And you're supposed to be a pastor? This is some scary work, ladies and gentlemen. This is supposed to be a man of God that got his whole degree. And he is manipulating his congregation. And you know what's some dangerous, scary work, ladies and gentlemen? People are clapping. They're clapping in the church. Yeah, that's right. I'm not going to care about Charlie Kirk because they killed our ancestors. What? Yeah. God is happy. So people are using God for their message. That's how low people are going. Now, once again, I am not surprised by these low entity demons, these racists, because they're going to be demons at the end of the day. But for a pastor to preach this hateful ass message is some crazy work, when the Most High says to forgive. The Most High says to not count your wrongs. You can't be counting people's wrongs. He doesn't say for you to be ignorant and stupid. But he doesn't say to be on a podium talking about all these past events when somebody recently, 11 days ago, now this video came out like 3 to 5 days ago, but this is still fresh. I'm not talking about what happened 20, 30, thousands of years ago. I'm talking about my ancestors were passed away in the hands of the white man, so why should I care about Charlie Kirk? What kind of hateful ass message is that? Stop the cap. Yo, these people don't represent me, and they don't represent you. These racists are being exposed out here, ladies and gentlemen. Even pastors, they have a whole week to prepare for their message. Of all things to talk about, instead of bringing peace and prosperity and lighting their congregation, they are abusing their power to bring drama, to bring a Netflix special. This is not a drama show. This is church. Church is supposed to be a hospital. It's not where people go who are perfect. It goes to heal your soul, to get rejuvenated, to refill your cup, to hear the word of God. Go back home and read the word for yourself, because you can't believe what the next man say. You can't believe what I say. You have to dissect the Bible on your own. Church is to where something that was confusing is now in simpler terms, because the pastor has a degree and he is going to break down the word of God. Instead of enlightening his congregation, he is spreading hate, telling, oh, they killed our ancestors, so why should I care about Charlie Kirk? You see the racism? Now, once again, I'm not surprised by your everyday human demon. I'm not surprised by these low vibrational people, because they're going to be hateful regardless. But to be a man of God, a black pastor, spreading hate, I'm surprised these pastors are not canceled. If Jimmy Kimmel didn't say half of what these pastors are saying, and they still have the lights on in their church, because these pastors do not pay tax dollars. So somebody has to pay for them, and they still have a roof over their head. How come they're not getting canceled? This is a hateful speech. I'm not making this up. I'm not trying to play this video because this is a memorial for Charlie Kirk, but we got to call the cap. Crazy ass work here, ladies and gentlemen. I want to appreciate every single one of y'all in the building. Let's go to this capping ass pastor, man. Rest in peace to Charlie Kirk.
No such comparison now. Let me hasten to say, I'm anti-political violence. Kirk should still be alive. I don't agree with the time with anything Kirk said. What Kirk said was dangerous. What Kirk said was racist, rooted in white supremacy, nasty, and hate-filled. But he still should be alive. He still should be playing with his kids. He still should be experiencing the love with his wife. He still should be experiencing life as he saw it. I don't want anybody, please hear me well, anybody to be victimized by political violence, when I'm going to keep it a buck. Because one of the things...
You see the manipulation that's about to be said. When people give but, everything they said goes out the window. What you mean but? You just said you do not condone Charlie passing on national television. You just said he left his wife and kids behind. There's nothing else to say. What you mean but? See, that's the thing with rat poison. Rat poison is about 97 to 99% organic, real food. It's only a little bit that kills the rat. So these pastors are preaching truth and death in the same take, out of the same mouth. Be careful who you listen to. Be careful who you idolize going to these churches, because these pastors are human just like you.
Gets me. And we got some politicians in here. I'm going to tell y'all, I'm going to come for you if you ever say this. If you ever say, America, we better than this. You lying. You lying. We ain't better than this. America was born in political violence. America committed political violence during the slave trade. America committed political violence when black bodies hung as strange fruit on southern trees. America committed political violence against the Irish, against the Italians before they became white. America.
Ladies and gentlemen, why is he bringing this up to Charlie Kirk? Like, that's some crazy ass work. What he's saying is out of context. How are you going to bring up all the history of America to downplay what happened to Charlie Kirk? Do you see the manipulation, the mind games that he's playing in the church? When a man just got executed on national TV, you bringing up the man's past. You bringing up America's past, and you saying that there shouldn't be compassion? You got to stop the cap.
Committed political violence when America passed Jim and Jane Crow laws. What do you think?
And once again, I could care less about his political views. And you have that right to not like Charlie Kirk. You can dislike me, you could dislike anybody. God doesn't say you have to like everybody. It's about compassion about a man being executed on national television, ladies and gentlemen. He got executed. What are we talking about? He's not here to defend himself. You got this pastor talking about America, the foundation is this and that. We all know that. We know America did the most to become America. So that condones Charlie Kirk's passing on TV? Is that what you're saying, Pastor? These pastors think they're slick.
Political violence was political violence when they bombed and massacred Black Wall Street, when they massacred Rosewood, when they massacred whites and blacks in Wilmington, North.
And Illmatic, I care about a man passing away on national television. That's what I care about. I never seen Charlie Kirk documentation, his videos, his debates while he was alive. Only thing I've seen Charlie Kirk, the first time I've seen him, unfortunately, was his execution on national TV. Meanwhile, you have people glorifying his death. That's what I care about. I don't care about his politics. I care about a human life. I, I, I care about the man leaving his kids and his wife behind, all from using his voice box, all from speaking his insight. You don't have to agree with the next man, but that does not mean that we should glorify somebody's death. Are we serious? So because I have a certain viewpoint on life means that I deserve to be executed because you don't agree with it? Stop the cap. Stop the cap.
Carolina, what do you think political violence is? Martin being killed, that's political violence. John Kennedy being killed, political violence. Robert Kennedy being killed, political violence. And you gonna say we better than this? No, you can't fix what you won't face until you look in the mirror and say this is a violent country. It has done violence to too many people. We will never get our act together. It's time to repent, because if my people called by my name humble themselves and pray, turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, forgive their sin, and heal the land.
This man thought he was cooking. Oh man, that's some crazy ass work. He thought he was cooking, man. So by bringing up the past, you're condoning Charlie Kirk's execution. Now, everything he said, there was some truth in it. Yeah, America was founded by a lot of genocide, a lot of craziness. That does not condone Charlie Kirk being executed on national television. Not only was his life gone, others' life was in jeopardy in the middle of that crossfire. And he wants to talk about America was founded by this, America was built off the backs of this, that, and the third, because we have to be very careful. This is a very controversial topic. But it's true. America was built off somebody else's back. Why are you bringing that up in Charlie Kirk's passing? You're a pastor. A man got executed on national TV. You're condoning, you're justifying his death because America was built off death? I'm going to repeat that. You're going to justify Charlie Kirk's execution on national TV because America was built off war and genocide and killing. Are we serious? Now, I expect this from, once again, these demons, these low entity, low vibrational people that's walking this green earth. Because it says in a good book, not everybody is your brother. We got to stop the cap. Not everybody that's walking this earth is your brother. Not everybody gives two F's about you, ladies and gentlemen. Not everybody is in your best interests. So let's call it spade a spade once again. There's only a few that actually are trying to do right. But to be a pastor talking about America was built off death, so why should I care about Charlie Kirk? Death? Let's go to the next pastor here, man. This is some crazy ass work, man. We got multiple pastors talking crazy. Do me a favor, ladies and gentlemen, and double tap the screen, double tap the screen, double tap the screen to like the live. We're going to the next pastor. Now, this pastor here, his name is Marcus D. Crosby. I want to give y'all a shout out. Shout out to Alley Cat Demetrius once again. Cake, Herb C, Orlando, Certified Bot. He said I was just trolling. See, that's why Jimmy Kimmel got canceled, because he was trolling. See? That's why he got canceled. It's a time and place for everything. I'm all for jokes, but a man getting executed on national TV, some crazy work. Let's go back to the content. Now, this video here is provided by this guy. If you want to watch the full clip, it's going to be Brent Bart News. This is a Texas preacher. This is in down south Texas, talking like this.
Kirk was not the only one that died last week. His black body's being killed all across the country every week. And we ain't making it a major news story. I think we need to be careful. And we don't think just because white on white crime happened that it's more important than when other crimes happen as well. That's what I'm saying.
Hold on. I have to replay that. I'm so sorry. What?
Now, I know that we all got caught up on one death. But I want to be clear that Kirk was not the only one that died last week. His black body's being killed all across the country every week.
Oh my God. Here's another pastor bringing up somebody else's unfortunate situation. It's not about them right now. It's about Charlie. Charlie's the one that's not here. Why are you comparing two wrongs to make a right? You see the manipulation and the racism that's oozing out of these pastors talking about people are dying left. Excuse me, I can't say that D word or that K word. People are being eliminated left and right. So why should I care about Charlie Kirk? And you're supposed to be a man of God and you're judging. When God says to forgive, if we don't forgive, how are we supposed to enter the gates of heaven? Supposedly, right? From the good book, that's what it says. If we can't forgive our brother, how's the Most High supposed to forgive us? But he wants to bring up the past. And he wants to talk about everything else except for Charlie Kirk. That's crazy work.
We ain't making it a major news story. I think we need to be careful. If we don't think just because white on white crime happened that it's more important than when other crimes happen as well.
So let me break that down because there's a lot going on. So he's saying that black on black crime is happening all the time. But because Charlie Kirk passed away, he's getting all this attention and he's jealous that Charlie Kirk is receiving as much love and sympathy, but nobody cares about the black community. Now, Charlie Kirk was an activist. He had a platform. I guarantee you that if a black man had the same type of status of Charlie Kirk on national television, executed in front of everybody, it would be the same uproar. Once again, if a colored folk had the same status of Charlie Kirk, was an activist on national TV, he was in the middle of a debate and got deleted on national TV, it would be the same uproar. But he's saying that these black eliminations, these people being removed from this world, they don't get attention like Charlie Kirk. So why should we care about Charlie Kirk? Look at the demonic ass message this man is saying, the man of God. That's some crazy work, ladies and gentlemen. Do me a favor and double tap the screen and like the live. Let me know you're taking the situation. Thank you, every single one of y'all in the building. It's almost 3 in the morning. We cooking.
And let's keep going. Last week in Denver was the 47th school shooting this year. We got to be careful that we don't lose our song and get so comfortable with the hell that's raging in our streets. We still got to be conscious that there's some things happening in this world that are trying to rob us of our song. I really despise the way that Kirk was killed last week. I despise the way he was killed. Shouldn't have gone down like that. But political violence ain't nothing new to this nation. Now, let's be clear. Let's be clear. They killed our ancestors over political violence. That was political violence right there.
So bringing up the ancestors, is going to justify Charlie Kirk's execution? I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, these black racists are happy that Charlie Kirk has been deleted. They think since you took one of ours, we're going to take one of yours because you wasn't there for us, but you want us to be there for you. That's their psyche. That's their mindset. Ladies and gentlemen, do not listen to these pastors. Don't let their insecurities go into your mind and cloud your judgment to make you think your ancestors passed away, so you should not have compassion for the next man being executed. That's some crazy ass work and a crazy logic to think these people really can wake up in a grand rising and have this type of mindset. Who gave this man a license to preach? Could you imagine the other work he's been saying in this church? If this is his psyche, maybe he's never even said a tick like this before. Maybe Charlie Kirk exposed the racism that he's always had all along. Let's go back to the content.
Knees on necks, that's political violence right there. Shooting you down for having some Swiss, some Skittles, and a drink, that's political violence right there. Let's be clear, this ain't new. This ain't new. And I want them to be just as concerned about Kirk, and be just as concerned about Trayvon as they were about Kirk. And just as concerned about my brother that just got shot last night as they were about the...
Hold on, we can't play the full clip because we have to have our insight in these videos. So he's saying that because Trayvon Martin didn't get the attention of as Charlie Kirk, then we shouldn't feel some type of way because there's so much attention. But see, what he is not understanding and not putting into context, once again, Charlie Kirk had a platform. He had millions of subscribers. He went to university to university to university, debating college students, recording it, putting it online, and he was an activist of Donald Trump. That is not the same equivalency. That's not the same as Trayvon Martin. Now, I'm not saying Trayvon Martin's life overpowers Charlie Kirk. What I'm saying is that the platform is completely different. Trayvon Martin didn't deserve to die. Nobody deserves to be removed, deleted from this world. Pastor, nobody's giving attention to Trayvon Martin the same as Charlie Kirk when Trayvon Martin didn't have the same platform as Charlie Kirk. I don't know how that doesn't make sense. If Trayvon Martin had the same platform, the same millions of subscribers, the world would know more about Trayvon Martin. The world didn't even know. It was he say, she say. It was that Zimmerman dude following Trayvon Martin like a weird pedophile. Hold on, we can't say that word on YouTube. Like a weirdo. And it became later on to where the truth came to the light. Because hearing the story first of Trayvon Martin, people automatically thought Trayvon Martin was the guy that was doing wrong. In reality, Trayvon Martin was just minding his business. In comparison to Charlie Kirk, it was clear as day. Everybody saw what transpired. There was no confusion. With Trayvon Martin, there was confusion because, let's keep it a beam, when you see a black man wearing a hoodie, they automatically think you're up to no good. So the world thought Trayvon Martin was in the wrong. In reality, he was minding his business. Trayvon Martin was just trying to make it home, ladies and gentlemen. So it took a while for the world to wake up. It didn't take a while for people to understand what happened to Charlie Kirk because he was in the middle of a debate and he got executed. So where's the confusion there? With Trayvon Martin, it took Zimmerman to listen to those police calls. The police even said, stop being a weirdo and stop following Trayvon Martin, bro. Go back home. This man Zimmerman was on some type of like neighborhood watch, and he was, I don't know what he was on. I think he took a pill in the gas station and he was just on some weird stuff. He exposed himself. So there was a lot of confusion with Trayvon Martin. There should be no confusion with Charlie Kirk, but yet there is. You got black racists, content creators, pastors downplaying the situation. Crazy ass work.
Brother that got shot a couple days ago. And while I'm on that,
Winter. We all know that it was a execution because the person that took away Charlie Kirk, it wasn't the person that they have in bondage right now. It was by some elite power. There's no way that was a one man job that shot fired 200 yards away, jumped off a building, threw away the weapon in the bushes, got the weapon again, disassembled the weapon. That scrawny ass dude, the victim that is supposedly took away Charlie Kirk, come on, stop the cap.
Can I go a little farther? You and I need to be very careful. All of us need to be careful of the public positions that we take. Be very careful. Mr. Kirk said for years that sometimes they're in schools, there has to be some live sacrifice to protect the Second Amendment. I'm not making it up. Some lives have to be taken.
You know, for Rensselaer, I'm not so ignorant. I'm gonna listen to you. We're gonna change the word from execution. I can't use the K word. So I have to be careful of the words that I say on YouTube. So what word are we gonna say how Charlie Kirk passed away on national TV? Whatever. How are we going to express ourselves? How Charlie Kirk got assassinated? I think that word is more of a red flag for YouTube. No, I can't say that on YouTube. Are you serious? I can't say that.
To protect the Second Amendment. Gotta be careful of the positions you take. Because they might just come back and take you.
I appreciate that DJ RT3. We're gonna say unalive. That's the perfect word. Unalived.
Not applauding his death. That boy should not have died. His children got to be raised without a father. His wife has to deal with living without her husband. It should not have gone down like that. But the Bible says, if you live by the sword.
This man said, what? Hold on. Crazy, bro. He said, if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So, because Charlie was given debates on these university and college, you want to manipulate that and saying that because he lived by the sword, he dies by the sword, and you have your hands up talking about the Bible says. Where is this energy coming from? Oh, it's coming from self-hate. It's coming from racism. Talking about you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Really, Pastor? This pastor's worse than the first pastor that I played. Multiple churches are spreading hate, talking about you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You're manipulating the situation, Pastor. Charlie was debating college students. He did not deserve to be unalived. Shout out to the chat for that vocabulary word. He didn't deserve to be unalived, ladies and gentlemen. We got to stop the cap. Let's go back to the content.
Be careful of your public positions, because the Bible says you will reap what you sow.
Did Charlie reap what he sowed? And why is the church clapping? Why is the church agreeing with this low vibrational message saying you reap what you sow? Now, of course, you do reap what you sow. If you put out negativity into the world, negativity is going to find you. But he is applying this message using the Bible, saying Charlie deserved everything that came towards his direction because of his insight, debating college students, giving them a rebuttal, giving them an opportunity, a microphone. Because some content creators will mute your microphone. Some content creators will put you in the backstage. Some content creators won't even give you an opportunity to speak. Charlie gave you the opportunity to speak your mind and rebuttal everything he said. So what you mean live by the sword, die by the sword? He was speaking his mind. You don't have to agree with his message. It does not justify his passing, his removal from this world.
Yeah, that boy should not have died. His children got to be raised without a father. His wife has to deal with living without her husband. It should not have gone down like that. But the Bible says if you live by the sword, be careful of your public positions, because the Bible says you will reap what you sow.
Oh man, that's some scary, dangerous work, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to the next pastor, man. Multiple pastors, bro. Multiple pastors spreading hate. This is the last one, and we're gonna go back to Donald Trump. This is crazy, bro. Do me a favor, double tap the screen and like the live. It is almost 3 in the morning. I appreciate every single one of y'all in the building. Let me get my shout out. Shout out to Orlando, Alley Cat. Seek in my shadow lands. Whoa, that's a crazy name. Shout out to LZ Fan, Peter, Winter. Shout out to every single one of y'all in the building. Let's go back to the content. Now here's another pastor spreading lies and hate. He's supposed to push out positivity in the Church of the Most High.
But I'm overwhelmed seeing the flags of the United States of America at half staff calling this nation.
The flags was halfway because it was 9/11, and they was paying homage to the past victims that was deleted because of what transpired on 9/11. That's why the flags was halfway.
To honor and venerate a man who was an unapologetic racist.
I'm not a racist. Closest friends was Candace Owens, and he also told the black community that's being misconstrued that don't live in Section 8 housing because that is a imprisonment of the mind, causing generational curses, because if you live in Section 8 housing, you have to claim zero rent, which means you don't have a job, which means you're not going to change your situation. Now, Section 8 housing is a way to get out of your situation, but you can't live there forever. Charlie Kirk was saying that it's better to work and struggle than to get a handout. And I made plenty of videos on my channel. If you want to check out this guy named Dishrack Dante, he was living on Section 8 housing for 5+ years, claiming zero income while receiving AdSense YouTube revenue, as if he was broke, but he was claiming that he didn't receive income. That is a curse. Section 8 housing should have never been created, but it was created to help people change their situation, but people abuse that. Oh, so tax dollars are going to pay for my rent? I don't got to go to work. And then they lie to the government, receive income, but claim zero income. Crazy work.
Spent all of his life sowing seeds of division and hate into this land. And hearing people with selective rage who were mad about Charlie Kirk but didn't give a damn about Melissa Hortman and her husband when they were...
Bro, this is not a comparison, Pastor. Why are you comparing these other unfortunate situations? And my condolences goes to every single person that he's mentioning. This is about Charlie Kirk. So he's saying because America didn't care about the black folk passing away, we shouldn't care about Charlie Kirk. What? Stop the cap, Pastor.
Shut down in their home. Tell me I ought to have compassion for the death of a man who had no respect for my own life. I am sorry, but there's nowhere in Bible where we are taught to honor evil.
Of course, you're not supposed to honor evil, but what is evil about Charlie Kirk? What did he say? What did he do? He's not Hitler. And even if he was Hitler, ladies and gentlemen, God still will forgive Hitler if Hitler was to repent for his sins. Who are we to judge? You're supposed to be a man of God and you're preaching hate? Crazy work.
And how you die does not redeem how you lived.
So he already has a prejudgment on Charlie Kirk, talking about how you died does not redeem how you lived. So he just hates Charlie Kirk. And he's projecting his BS into his church.
You do not become a hero in your death when you are a weapon of the enemy in your life.
Ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor, double tap the screen, double tap the screen. I appreciate every single one of y'all in the building. These are multiple pastors capping in the church of the Most High, leading their congregation to confusion. You said, how do I know the church is... Hold on. Hold my lighter. You said, how do I know the church is involved? You don't see the church clapping, cheering in the background? They're jumping for joy, clapping to everything this pastor has to say because they're sheep. They're going to believe everything these pastors are saying. Ladies and gentlemen, don't believe everything I say. Don't believe these pastors. Don't believe anything you hear. Take what people say with a grain of salt. Go back home and do your own homework and research and decide and dissect everything. It's a lot of lies going on and being spread around in this world. Crazy work.
I can abhor the violence that took...
Hold on. My bad. Hold my lighter. You. My bad. Hold my lighter. I was over here. You catching strays. My bad, my guy. My bad, man. I thought you said something else. My bad, my guy.
Your life. But I don't have to celebrate how you chose to live.
DJ, I'm playing the receipts. So what are you talking about? I'm playing these pastors bringing up the next man passing away in church, and they're trying to justify Charlie Kirk passing, saying we shouldn't have no remorse or sympathy for Charlie Kirk because they didn't care about our ancestors passing. Come on, we gotta stop the cap. Stop the cap, ladies and gentlemen.
I am overwhelmed.
All right, let's go over to Donald Trump. Give me 1 second. It's just crazy work how people can justify a man passing away because they didn't care about our ancestors. What? People just living in the past and they just are stuck in the past. Let's go back to Donald Trump. Crazy work.
Too great to even fathom. You have somehow found the strength and deep faith to be a comfort to millions and millions of people. And thank you very much, Erika. Thank you very much.
And for the record, this is not a politics channel. This is just a memorial for Charlie Kirk. Now, this is about a life that was unalived. I could care less about the politics.
Today, an entire nation wraps its loving arms around you and your beautiful children. We share in your immense and overwhelming sorrow, and we vow that we will do everything we can to ensure that your children grow up in a land where their father is honored and revered as a great American hero. That's what he is. To Charlie's parents who lost their beloved son, and to the entire Kirk family, we know that no words can ever be enough to fill the void he leaves behind. That's a void that just can't be filled. But I hope the extraordinary outpouring of emotion over these past 11 days has comforted you with the knowledge that your son brought more good and love into this world in his 31 short years than most people, even very, very successful people, can bring in a lifetime. Charlie Kirk loved America with everything he had. And as we can see so clearly today, America loved Charlie Kirk. And he could always draw a big crowd. Look at this today. Look at what's gone on. This is a big crowd. Here today we have the Vice President of the United States, JD Vance. We have the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, Mike Johnson. We have countless members of the United States Senate, and I'm sorry I'm not going to introduce you, but I'll be up here. They're all over the place. And likewise, the House of Representatives, they're all over this big stadium. This is not an arena, this is a stadium. A great cabinet, and this stadium packed with rafters of people, not to mention the one across the street that also has tens of thousands of people, and they're watching us on screen right now. And I'm sorry we couldn't get you in. If anybody would like to give up your seat, please walk across the street. But this is like an old-time revival, isn't it? An old-time revival. For millions of Americans, especially young people, it is agonizing and unthinkable to say goodbye to a patriot whose heart still had so much to give. It's so much. Raised in the suburbs of Chicago, Charlie was filled with a patriotic spirit from his youth, and he was an all-American in everything he did. And one of the last things he said to me is, "Please, sir, save Chicago." We're going to do that. We're going to save Chicago from horrible crime. In high school, he was the quarterback of the football team and the captain of the basketball team. He was a good athlete. A lot of people don't know that about Charlie. He was an Eagle Scout who spent his school lunch breaks listening to another champion for liberty, somebody that he greatly admired, Rush Limbaugh. But what was even more important to Charlie than politics and service was the choice he made in the 5th grade, which he called the most important decision of his life, to become a Christian and a follower of his Savior, Jesus Christ. Inspired by faith and his love of freedom, Charlie did something remarkable when he was just 18 years old. On the advice of a mentor who told him to put off going to college because he was doing so well, he devoted his life to converting young people to the conservative cause. How did he do? Take a look. How did he do? In 2012, 2 days after graduating high school, and with just $1,800 in his pocket, the young man from Illinois, who no one had ever heard of, started an organization whose grand ambitions were captured in its name, Turning Point USA. Great name. And I have a feeling it's going to be bigger and better than ever before. Does that make sense? It's going to be bigger and better than ever before. Look at what's happening. 12 years ago, Charlie walked onto his first college campus, the very liberal University of Wisconsin at Madison. He set up a card table and put up a sign with 3 words: "Big government sucks." Can you believe that? That's Charlie. That day, Charlie talked to every student who approached him, most of whom were probably quite a bit older than he was. Finally, after many hours, he found the first ever Turning Point chapter leader. His first year out of high school, Charlie traveled 300 days raising money and taking his message to campuses all over the country. He lived out of his parents' basement, and they actually loved having him there. They loved Charlie. Everybody loved Charlie. And on the couches of friends and supporters, he lived off couches for 2 years, 3 years, then life started getting a little bit different, but he was always the same. For 5 years, he refused to take a paycheck, but day after day, he worked from 5 a.m. in the morning till 11 p.m. in the evening, always. His staff remembers that he wore Walmart jeans and T-shirts from the Goodwill store. Remember the Goodwill store? It wasn't easy, but Charlie wasn't in it for money at all. Never has been. Money was never his thing. He was always in it for the mission. As he liked to say even back then, we have a country to save. Just what he did. He'd call me all the time, sir, we have a country to save. I said, Charlie, thanks very much for telling me that. I appreciate it. Charlie volunteered for my 2016 campaign and traveled the nation with my...
Hold on. Can't play the entire clip if I give him my insight. So I want to bring up Jimmy Kimmel. So Jimmy Kimmel, is this remorseful enough because he was throwing shade at Donald Trump? Hold on, let me flip the camera. He was throwing shade at Donald Trump, saying that he was in his fourth stage of grieving, which is construction, making jokes, making laughing sound bites playing in the background in the middle of Trump giving his dialogue, saying that his right hand man activist, Charlie Kirk, passed away, and he was making fun of that. So Donald Trump now is showing compassion. He's giving his insights to the best of his ability. Is that enough for you, Jimmy Kimmel? Talking about your First Amendment right was removed. Meanwhile, you're working for the man. What First Amendment right do you really got working at a 9 to 5? You can't be saying just anything, especially at a heroic or horrific event of a man being unalived in front of the masses. Other people's life was at stake. Is this remorseful enough for you, Jimmy Kimmel? Because you out here making jokes, trolling, consistently playing laughing sound bites in the background, making a mockery of Charlie Kirk's death, and people are at an outrage saying that his First Amendment right was removed, wasn't practiced. Stop the cap, ladies and gentlemen. Stop the cap. You can't go to your 9 to 5. See, a 9 to 5 has rules, guidelines, and policies. It's a world within a world. Now, of course, you can say what you want to say to a certain extent, but you really can't speak about politics and religion and stuff like that, because that goes against company policies and guidelines. There will be consequences. That's why people are losing their 9 to 5s, because they're glorifying Charlie Kirk's removal from this world. And these videos are being sent to their employers, and they're losing their jobs, all from self-hate. Right now is not a time to be losing a 9 to 5. Rent is around the corner. Some things you can't control, but to be sending out hate into the world, losing your 9 to 5 is absolute buffoonery, clownery at its finest. Let's go back to the content. Crazy ass work.
Son Don and Eric, I got to know him very well and saw immediately that Charlie was actually a master builder of people. It was Charlie who first started organizing young black conservatives hungry for support and leadership. It was Charlie who stood up for persecuted Christians and Jews on college campuses. It was Charlie who helped bring online censorship, free speech, and cancel culture to the fore of our political debate. He was right up there with me. It was Charlie who helped unite MAGA, and you know what MAHA is? That's right, Make America Healthy Again. And tomorrow we're going to have one of the biggest announcements, really medically, I think, in the history of our country. We're going to be doing it with Bobby and Oz and all of the professionals. I think you're going to find it to be amazing. I think we found an answer to autism. How about that? Autism tomorrow. we're going to be talking.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, my phone's about to die, so I'm gonna go to Charlie Kirk's wife. Let me go to what she has to say real quick.
To the will of God. He quoted one of his favorite Bible verses, Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8. Here I am, Lord. Send me. After Charlie finished, I met him backstage and I spoke to him, and I'll never forget this. I said, Charlie, baby, please talk to me next time before you say that statement. Because when you say something like that, there is so much power in that verse. When you say, here I am, Lord, use me, God will take you up on that. And he did with Charlie. "11 days ago, God accepted that total surrender from my husband and then called him to his side. More than anything, Charlie wanted to do not his will, but God's will. And over these past 11 days, through all the pain, never before have I found as much comfort as I now do in the words of our Lord's Prayer, thy will be done. God's love was revealed to me on the very day my husband was murdered. On the afternoon of September 10th, I arrived at a Utah hospital to do the unthinkable, to look directly at my husband's murdered body.
Whoa, hold on. Dang, she going aggressive with those M words. Hold on. YouTube, hold on. Hold on, YouTube. Hold on. Let me put my insight into this. Hold on. Hold on. That was aggressive. Wow. That was very aggressive. Ladies and gentlemen, my condolences goes to Charlie Kirk. Once again, you don't have to like the man. You have that right. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like anybody. But to glorify death, to downplay Charlie Kirk's passing, comparing his passing to the ancestors, saying they didn't care about the ancestors, so why should I care about Charlie, is straight up demonic and is low vibrational. Because yes, a lot of unfortunate events did happen in the past, but we have to move on, because how are we supposed to grow if we're holding on to the past? See, the thing is, mankind wants to hold man accountable, but by holding men accountable, we are stopping our blessings, because we should not fight that fight. It's up to the Most High. The Most High will deal with the wrongdoings. Don't get it twisted. If you are the child of the Most High, that does not go unnoticed. God does not play with his children. If somebody mistreats you, abuses your family lineage, excuse me, I'm butchering that word, not one thing, not one leaf is unturned. A hair on your body, if it is abused, God sees that. So God will fight that battle for you. It's not up to us to get revenge. You got these pastors that played earlier in this video trying to downplay Charlie Kirk's removal from this world, talking about the ancestors didn't get the attention that Charlie Kirk is getting. That's some crazy ass work. Ladies and gentlemen, replace the hate with love. It's not too late. Peace. You only have one life to live. If hate consumes your heart, how long do you really expect to live? Now, we expect this from these demons, these low vibrational people, these races being exposed. But for the pastors in the church of God to spread hate is some crazy ass work. Let's go back to the content. Do me a favor, ladies and gentlemen, double tap the screen to like the video.
I saw the wound that ended his life. I felt everything you would expect to feel. I felt shock. I felt horror. And a level of heartache that I didn't even know existed. But there was something else too.
Shout out to Waffle Jackson. He said, I don't like the word empathy. I think it's a new age thing. I prefer the word sympathy. Empathy implies you know how a person is feeling and you can never truly know that. Charlie Kirk. Okay, I feel that. Regardless, as a human being, you got to feel some type of way about a man being removed from this world. But content creators, black racists, are happy making content glorifying Charlie Kirk's passing, saying that the ancestors made that happen. Because if they can take one of ours, then why should we cry when they take one of yours? That is a crazy. So two wrongs make a right. That is not of God. That is of the world.
Even in death, I could see the man that I love. I saw the one single gray hair on the side of his head, which I never told him about. Now he knows. Sorry, baby, telling you now, but never told him. Didn't want to. I also saw this. I also saw on his lips the faintest smile. And that told me something important. It revealed to me a great mercy from God in this tragedy. When I saw that, it told me Charlie didn't suffer. Even the doctor told me. It was something so instant that even if Charlie had been shot in the operating room itself, nothing could have been done. There was no pain, there was no fear, no agony. One moment Charlie was doing what he loved, arguing and debating on campus, fighting for the gospel, truth, in front of a big crowd. And then he blinked. He blinked and saw his Savior in paradise. And all the heavenly mysteries were revealed to him. God's love continued to be revealed to me in the days that followed. The next day on the tarmac in Air Force Two, I confronted Usha Vance, precious woman. I held her hand and I told her, honestly, I do not know how I'm going to get through this. She told me something. She said, you know when you're on an airplane with your kids and it's the last 15...
Yo, I'm gonna have to speed this up because no disrespect, but man, I'm gonna have to speed her speech up.
minutes of the flight. And things are crazy. Kids are not cooperating, toys are flying everywhere, and everyone's screaming. And you think to yourself, I cannot wait for this flight to land. And it's 15 minutes before you land. And she told me, you will get through these 15 minutes and the next 15 minutes after that. Usha, I don't think you realized it then, but those words were exactly what I needed to hear. But most of all, God's mercy and God's love have been revealed to me these past 10 days. After Charlie's assassination, we didn't see violence. We didn't see rioting. We didn't see revolution. Instead, we saw what my husband always prayed he would see in this country. We saw revival. This past week, we saw people open a Bible for the first time in a decade. We saw people pray for the first time since they were children. We saw people go to a church service for the first time in their entire lives. Charlie liked to journal. And I say this because he did it to remember important moments and sayings that affected him. And one of the things he wrote in his journal was this: every time you make a decision, it puts a mark on your soul. To those of you out there who just made that decision and took the first step toward a spiritual life, I say thank you and welcome. One day I hope you look back and realize it was the most important decision of your life, because it is. All of you who are already believers, it is your job to shepherd these people. Do not take that lightly. Water the seed of their faith. Protect it and help it grow. Every day as Charlie rode into the office, he would go through his contact list. And I know there's many of you who were impacted by this. He would go through his contact list and send Bible verses for the day. He knew that faith was a habit. The more you live it, the more it grows.
I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but we're gonna have to cut the video here because she's about to talk for the next 15 minutes. If you want to watch the full video, the link is in my description, or you can just simply type in Charlie Kirk Memorial Service on YouTube and you can watch that video. But I'm gonna land my plane right here. Hold on, let me flip the camera. She's about to talk for the next 15 minutes. My phone is going to die. We cannot allow that. So I'm going to land my plane. My condolences goes to Charlie Kirk. No man deserves to be removed from this world. No man deserves to be unalived the way that Charlie Kirk got unalived, just for his insight, for his political views. Regardless if you think he was right or wrong, is one thing. But to eliminate him from this planet because of his insight, because of his way of thinking, is some crazy ass work. Not only that, but he left a family member behind, kids behind, friends behind. And then you have people glorifying his death, saying that he deserved to be unalive. That is pure evil. And that's why I am documenting this video, to spread awareness that we cannot glorify the next man being removed from this world because you don't agree with him. When have we become so low as a human race that people are happy on the next man being removed from this world? That is some crazy work. But it's been a pleasure. My condolences once again to Charlie Kirk. I never even knew the man when he was alive. Unfortunately, I found out through his passing who he was. Did he have a lot of controversial takes? Yes. Was he rough around the edges? Yes. But at the end of the day, he did what he loved. If you don't agree with it, you have that right to your opinion. What I don't agree with is people are happy that he was eliminated, unalived, because of his opinion, because of his insight. That is some crazy work. You have the right to believe whatever you want to as long as it's legal. As outrageous takes that's being spewed on the microphone, as long as it's legal, you can say whatever you want to say. Not at your 9 to 5, but out in the public. Charlie Kirk was giving college students an opportunity to rebuttal, to debate everything that he was saying. He wasn't a dictator. He wasn't a narcissist to where he was controlling the narrative, muting people's microphone, and spewing out his message. No, he gave the opportunity, the opposition, to say whatever they wanted to say. That does not correlate him to being all of Hitler. He is not the devil. People think he's just the most evil thing on earth. People on TikTok right now are happy that Charlie Kirk passed away. And they're upset that people are showing sympathy towards Charlie Kirk as if it is a bad thing to be. I'm just lost for words. This is some crazy work. I'm gonna give a shout out before I end this video. Shout out to James, Ghost, Solid, Sherelle. Sorry if I butchered your name. Razor, Billy Bob in the building. Lane Crane. Sorry if I'm butchering y'all names. Waffle Jackson in the building. RK. Do me a favor, double tap the screen to like the live. It's been real. We're living some crazy times, man. Never would you think just by speaking your opinion and people disagree with your take that you would be unalived as if you're a criminal. Last time we've seen this is Martin Luther King. So this is going to be in the history of books, ladies and gentlemen. We cannot downplay this situation. This is a part of our history. By speaking your mind, people hate you so much they want to unalive you. Be safe out here in this crazy world. Stay in the word. Stay protected. Protect your energy. And don't let these false prophets, these people, cloud your judgment to thinking that Charlie Kirk deserved to pass away. That's some crazy work. I'm out, man. It's been